You're standing on a plain, frozen and dark, under a pale, distant moon. The air is sharp, and the silence is thick with the weight of time. In your hand, you hold a flint, its edges sharp and glinting faintly in the dim light. You press it against a piece of bone, and with a crack, you create the first spark of fire. You look around, and for the first time, the world isn't just a place to survive in. It's a canvas, a puzzle, a story waiting to be told. And you, right now, are standing at the very edge of that moment, when the first spark became the first idea. So what exactly are we talking about? It's not just the making of tools, but the very first steps toward creativity, purposeful action, and the idea of making something for a reason. These were not random hits or accidental strikes. They were calculated, intentional. A controlled force applied with purpose to change the world around them. It was not just about tools. It was about thinking ahead, planning, and seeing potential where others saw only rock and bone. This moment, the creation of the first tool, is where humanity's unique spark began. It was a turning point, the first flicker of a fire that would light the path of civilization. This isn't just about the past. It's about the very essence of what it means to be human. Every tool, every symbol, every spark of imagination is a thread in the fabric of our shared story. Understanding how we began to create is like peering into the origins of creativity itself. It's a window into the roots of innovation, art, and the human spirit. When you look at the world today, at the technology, art, and culture we've built, you're seeing the legacy of those first sparks. It's all still here, in every creation, every idea, every story. You might not realize it, but the same curiosity and drive that led our ancestors to create tools and symbols are the same forces that shape your thoughts, your work, and your dreams. So, yes, this is about the past, but it's also about you. It's about what makes you, you. And it's about the incredible journey that led us here. Imagine a world where fire was a mystery, a force of nature that both terrified and inspired. Early humans, still in the grip of the wild, first learned to control it. It was a turning point, not just a tool, but a spark that would change everything. From fire came warmth, light, and the ability to cook food, a leap that transformed their bodies and minds. But it was more than just survival. It was the first step toward making the world their own. As they adapted, they began to experiment with stone, with bone, with the world itself. The first tools were not just necessities. They were the first expressions of human ingenuity, a sign that they were no longer just surviving, but shaping their destiny. Then came the first symbols. Not just marks on stone, but thoughts, ideas, and stories. These were the seeds of language, the first whispers of culture, and the foundation of what would one day be called art. Each discovery, each tool, each symbol was a step toward something greater. Not just mastery over the world, but a reflection of the mind itself. This was the beginning of the human spark, and it was just the start. So imagine you're a kid, playing in the dirt with sticks. One day, you find a rock that's just the right shape. You pick it up, and it feels special. Maybe it's not magic, but it's the first step to something bigger. You start to notice that some rocks are easier to hold, some are harder to move. Maybe you try to make a tool out of one, like a stick for poking or a stone for hitting. It's not perfect, but it works. Over time, you try different shapes, different sizes. You learn what works best for digging, cutting, or breaking things. It's like learning a new game, but instead of points, you get better at making things. One day, you make something that really helps you. Maybe it's a tool that makes it easier to get food or a way to make fire. That moment feels like a big deal, even if you don't realize it yet. And that's how it started. Not with big ideas, but with small, curious actions. Every time you tried something new, you were building the first tools of human creativity. Before the first spark, there was a gathering of early humans around a fire. They were not just surviving, they were thinking, watching, and learning from the world around them. The fire was more than light and heat. It was a source of power, a signal of life, and a mirror for their curiosity. It inspired questions about the forces that shaped their world. They began to observe the sparks that rose from the fire, tiny embers that danced and vanished. These were not just byproducts, they were the first signs of something extraordinary. In this moment of wonder, they made a connection between the natural world and their own ability to create. They were no longer just observers. They were thinkers, experimenting with what they saw. This was the first step in a long journey of discovery. They had found a way to take control of nature's energy, to shape it, and to begin the process of creation. Once the spark was struck, the next step was to control and channel that energy. Early humans began to understand how friction could create heat, and how that heat could be used to shape and transform materials. They experimented with different materials, learning which combinations would produce the most heat and the most control. This was not just chance. It was a process of observation and adaptation. They also began to realize that the spark was not just a momentary event. It could be a starting point for something larger. A controlled fire meant warmth, light, and the ability to cook food. This shift from a natural occurrence to a tool was the first step in the transformation of humanity. It was not just about survival. It was about mastery over the elements. The mechanism was simple, but its implications were profound. It marks the beginning of a new relationship between humans and their environment, one built on knowledge, experimentation, and ingenuity. The clever twist came when early humans realized that a simple tool could be used in more than one way. They began to see the potential for transformation, not just in the object, but in the way it could be manipulated. They started to think beyond the immediate use. What if this sharp edge could be used to cut, or to scrape, or to break something else apart? It was a shift from mere function to intention. This wasn't just about making a tool. It was about planning, about foresight, about recognizing that one action could lead to another, and another, creating a chain of possibilities. This clever twist marked the beginning of something much bigger. The first stirrings of human ingenuity. The first moment when our ancestors started to imagine, then create, then innovate. At the heart of every tool, every fire, every mark on stone lies a fundamental force: electricity. The same current that lights our homes once sparked the first flames in the hands of our ancestors. Neuroscience tells us that the human brain is wired for pattern recognition. But early humans didn't just see patterns. They created them, using fire, stone, and instinct to shape the world around them. What we now call art was once a form of communication, a way to record, teach, and share knowledge. These marks on cave walls weren't just beauty, they were the first blueprints of human thought. The science of creation isn't just about what we made. It's about how we made it. It's the spark of curiosity, the drive to understand, and the unrelenting human urge to shape the unknown into something meaningful. Imagine a single spark in the dark, flickering like a star in the void. That's not just light. It's a moment of creation, a first breath in the long, slow exhale of human history. This spark isn't magic. It's a fire, but not the kind we take for granted. It's the first thing that made humans different. Not just warmth or light, but the ability to think about what they had just made. This is the same spark that led to the first cave paintings, the first stories, the first dreams. It's the beginning of something vast, something human, something alive. So, in a way, we are all still kindling. We are all still learning to see the world as something we can shape, something we can understand, something we can make beautiful. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. There's a moment in time when the world feels like it's holding its breath. The sky is heavy with the weight of what's about to change, and the silence is filled with the hum of possibilities. It's not the sound of footsteps or a clock ticking, but the soft rustle of a page turning, like the universe exhaling for the first time in centuries. In that instant, you're no longer just an observer. You're a witness to the birth of something vast, something human, something that would shape the very way we see the world. This is the moment the Renaissance begins. Not with a shout, but with a whisper in the dark, carried on the breath of a single ancient page. So, what exactly are we talking about? It's not just the brushstrokes of Da Vinci or the symphony of a Bach suite. It's the moment when humanity began to see itself as both creator and observer of the world. It's the shift from a world governed by divine will to one where reason, curiosity, and the power of the mind could shape reality. A new kind of consciousness was born. This was not just an age of invention. It was an age of transformation. The mind, once seen as a vessel for divine inspiration, now became the engine of human progress. We're talking about the moment when imagination was no longer a luxury, but a necessity, a spark that would light the way to the future. You think the Renaissance is just about dusty paintings and grand libraries? But it's also about the quiet revolution of how we see the world, how we dare to wonder, to question, to create. Imagine if every moment of your life was a blank canvas. You're the artist, the thinker, the dreamer. That's what the Renaissance gave us, the power to shape reality with our minds. The Renaissance didn't just change art. It changed how we live. It taught us that imagination is not a luxury, but a necessity. And that's something you might not realize you need until it's too late. You secretly care about this because you're already part of the same journey. The same restless, creative, questioning mind that once looked at the stars and wondered, what if? We start where the world was still waking, in the quiet, candlelit chambers of ancient Greece. There, in the flicker of firelight, thinkers like Plato and Aristotle first dared to ask, what is the nature of reality? What lies beyond the veil of the known? Then came the fall of Rome, the Dark Ages, a time when knowledge was buried beneath the weight of centuries. But even in the silence, the seeds of wonder still lay hidden, waiting for the right light to ignite them. The Middle Ages gave way to the Renaissance, a rebirth of thought, of art, of the human spirit. In cities like Florence and Venice, the old world met the new, and the soul of creativity began to stir once more. Now, we race through the centuries. The scientific revolution, the Enlightenment, the rise of reason, and the fall of dogma. Ideas traveled faster than ever, and the world began to change, piece by piece, in the mind's eye. From the first philosophers to the modern thinker, the journey of the mind has been one of fire and shadow, of doubt and discovery. It is a history of endless questions and the courage to ask them. Imagine a world where the sky isn't just a place, but a canvas, where stars are not just dots, but questions waiting to be answered. Art and science were not separate then. They were like two sides of the same coin, each telling the same story in a different language. They didn't just look at the world, they looked through it with their minds, and they saw something new, something alive. The Renaissance was not about making things look better. It was about making things mean something. And that started with a single, brave question. So, in the end, the Renaissance was not about big things. It was about small things. Curiosity, wonder, and the courage to ask, what if? The Renaissance began not with a grand declaration, but with a quiet shift in the mind. a recognition that the world was not a fixed stage, but a canvas waiting to be reimagined. In the silence of monasteries and the hush of workshops, scholars dared to ask questions that had once been deemed heretical. What if the universe was not divine, but discoverable? This was not just curiosity, but a reawakening of the human spirit, a return to the wonder that first made us look up at the sky and wonder why it was there. The Renaissance did not just change art or science. It changed the way we saw the world, and in doing so, it changed who we were. Now, we trace the gears of this new machine, how thought itself became a mechanism. Interlocking, precise, and alive. It was not just the eye that saw, but the mind that mapped the world with new instruments. The mind, once passive, now became an active agent, tooling its own tools, refining its own instruments, measuring the unseen and the unknown with precision and wonder. The mind was no longer bound by tradition, but by reason. It was a new kind of engine, fueled not by faith, but by inquiry, and driven not by force, but by curiosity. This was the first step in the mechanism of the modern mind, to see not with the eyes, but with the mind, and to think not with the heart, but with the logic of reason. In this new mechanism, imagination and reason were not rivals, but partners, each feeding the other, each refining the other, creating a space where the mind could soar and the world could be reimagined. The clever twist begins when curiosity is no longer satisfied by mere observation, but by the daring to ask, what if? What if the world is not just what it seems, but a canvas for possibilities? This shift from passive wonder to active questioning is the pivot point. The moment the mind begins to build not just models of the world, but new worlds within the mind. This is the birth of the modern mind, not merely to see, but to invent, not merely to understand, but to transform. The clever twist is not just a step in history. It is the spark that lights the flame of human potential, forever changing the way we see the world and ourselves. Beneath the grandeur of art and the fervor of discovery, there was a quiet hum, a science that did not shout, but whispered its truths through equations and lenses. In the silence of the observatory, minds mapped the heavens, not with eyes, but with numbers, counting stars as if they were notes in an ancient celestial song. To think was to become a co-creator of the world, to see the universe not as a fixed thing, but as a vast, unfinished poem waiting to be written. The science of the Renaissance was not about control, but about wonder, a hum that pulsed through the mind, urging it to reach beyond the seen and into the imagined. This hum was the birth of a new way of being, not just to know, but to feel the weight of the unknown, and to let it shake the world with its silence. Imagine the mind as a clockmaker's workshop, where gears of thought turn with the precision of a watch, yet each cog is carved from the raw, unpolished stone of wonder. The Renaissance was not just a rebirth of art or science, but of the imagination itself, a clockmaker who dared to rework the entire mechanism of knowing. The mind is not a machine of logic alone, but a canvas where reason and fantasy dance in perfect, unpredictable harmony. We are not just thinkers, but dreamers, each of us a Renaissance artisan, crafting our own universe from the raw material of thought and wonder. In the end, the greatest inventions are not the ones we can measure, but the ones that change how we see the world, like a clockmaker who builds not just gears, but time itself. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You wake up to the hum of machines, not the birds. The world is quieter, yet it feels louder, as if the silence filled with something we can't quite name. We build tools to create, but in doing so, we build something else. Something that shapes our minds and molds our visions without us ever noticing. The machines don't just help us create, they create with us, And in doing so, they challenge what it means to be human in a world that's increasingly built by algorithms. In the quiet spaces between the clicks and the streams, we find ourselves asking, are we creators? Or are we being created? This is not a story about technology. It's a story about us, about how we shape the world and how the world is shaping us back. We're talking about a world where machines don't just assist us, but begin to create alongside us. This isn't just about tools. It's about a shift in what it means to be an artist, a thinker, a creator. These machines are learning to mimic human creativity, to generate music, to write stories, to paint. But what does that mean for the human hand in the act of creation? Creativity has always been a part of our humanity. It's how we make sense of the world, how we express our deepest fears, hopes, and dreams. But now, we're facing a question. Can machines do this too? This isn't just a technological shift. It's a philosophical one. What does it mean to create when the machine can do it better, faster, and without fatigue? We are standing at a crossroads. The digital revolution is not just about efficiency or convenience. It's about the nature of creativity itself, and who gets to define it. You might not realize it, but every time you click a button, you're contributing to a system that's reshaping the very fabric of human creativity. Creativity is not just about making art. It's about how we think, how we connect, how we imagine the world beyond what's already there. You should care, because the tools you use are shaping the future of what it means to be human, and you part of that future. It's not just about the machines. It's about what we choose to do with them, and what we're willing to let them take from us. The digital revolution isn't just changing how we create. It's changing who we are, and how we see ourselves in a world that's becoming more machine than man. We began with the invention of the printing press, a moment that shook the world. It was not just a machine, but a revolution in thought, allowing ideas to spread like wildfire across Europe. Then came the steam engine, a symbol of industrial might that transformed labor and redefined human potential. It was the first time machines could outpace human effort, not replace it. The digital age arrived with the microchip, a tiny piece of silicon that changed everything. Suddenly, the power of computation was no longer the realm of governments and laboratories, but of everyday people. And now, we stand at the edge of something new. AI, deep learning, and neural networks. These are not just tools, but evolving minds that challenge our understanding of what it means to be creative and what it means to be human. Imagine you're drawing a picture with crayons. Now imagine that crayon is a robot. It can make the same line over and over, faster than you could ever hope to. But sometimes, it misses the magic of your hand. Creativity isn't just about making something new. It's about feeling something, and letting that feeling guide your hand. Machines can copy, but they can't feel. Machines can help us, but they can't replace the part of us that makes art, that makes meaning. That part is soft, messy, and full of wonder. In the end, the most important tool isn't a machine. It's the human heart. It beats, it feels, and it creates. That's what makes the world beautiful. The first step is the setup. A quiet room, a desk, a laptop, and a mind ready to begin. It's not about the tools, but the space they occupy, the silence that surrounds them. The machine waits, not with anticipation, but with patience. It is a vessel, not a companion, and the human must decide how to use it, not as a master, but as a collaborator. The act of setting up is not just physical. It's a mental preparation, a quiet moment of intention, a choice to engage with the machine not as a tool, but as an extension of the self. In this stillness, the machine becomes a mirror, not of the world, but of the mind. It reflects the thoughts, the doubts, the hopes, and the hesitations of the creator. This setup is the beginning, but it's also the foundation. A quiet, deliberate act that shapes the entire process, the entire relationship between human and machine. At the heart of this transformation lies a mechanical process, elegant in its simplicity, yet profound in its impact. Data is fed into the system, a stream of numbers and patterns, like whispers carried through the wires. The machine, a silent oracle, begins to process, parsing and sorting, layering meaning into structure. It doesn't think in the way we do, but it follows the logic of its design with unwavering precision. This is the second step, the mechanism, the engine behind the creation. It's not magic, but it is a kind of alchemy, turning information into innovation, repetition into revelation. And yet, there is a quiet sorrow in this process. The loss of the human hand, the human touch, the ineffable spark of imagination that cannot be quantified or replicated. The machine does not feel, but it can mimic. It can imitate, it can evolve, it can create. But it is not the creator. That role still belongs to us in the moment we choose to engage. The clever twist lies not in the machine's strength, but in its ability to be guided. It doesn't create, but it can be shaped into a tool that reflects the human mind's depth and intention. This is where the paradox of the digital age becomes clear. The machine is both a mirror and a mask. It reveals our thoughts, but it also obscures them, making the creative act a collaboration rather than a solo performance. The twist is in the trust we place in the machine, not as an end, but as a means. It's not about replacing the human, but about expanding the space where human creativity can thrive. The machine doesn't dream, but it can be made to echo our dreams. It doesn't feel, but it can be made to reflect our feelings. This is the clever twist, not of the machine, but of us. In the end, the machine is a mirror of our own potential. The twist is not in what it can do, but in what we choose to do with it, and how it, in turn, shapes what we become. Beneath the surface of every algorithm, every line of code, there is a quiet hum of mathematics that shapes what we see, hear, and create. It's not just logic. It's the language of the universe, rewritten for our use. Each digital brushstroke, each AI-generated melody, is built from numbers and patterns that have existed since the dawn of human curiosity. We are not the architects of this world, only its interpreters. This science is not cold. It's a form of poetry, written in bits and bytes. It's the silent force that turns our whispers into psalms, our ideas into images. We are not replacing creativity with machines. We are extending it. The future is not a replacement of human ingenuity, but a collaboration with the unseen forces that shape our world. In the quiet spaces between code and creativity, there is a truth. We are not separate from the machine. We are its voice, its vision, its dream. We are not building a future with machines, but rather cultivating a garden where algorithms are the roots and we are the tending hands. The machine doesn't create, it reveals. It doesn't inspire, it mirrors. And in that mirror, we see both our potential and our limitations. Creativity is not the absence of technology, but the presence of intention. It is not a fight against machines, but a conversation with them. In the end, the machine is a mirror. What we see in it is not its reflection, but our own. The question is not how to outsmart it, but how to outgrow it. Let us be the gardeners, not the engineers. Let us plant with care, tend with patience, and let the future grow not from control, but from connection. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You wake up to the hum of a city that feels both familiar and strange. The same streets, but the buildings are whispering code. The coffee machine knows your mood. The window adjusts its light like a second skin. You step outside and the air feels charged. Not with electricity, but with possibility. The world is no longer just a place to live in. It's a canvas, a machine, a dream waiting to be shaped. This is not a world of AI replacing humans. It's a world where AI becomes the co-creator, the catalyst, the silent partner in a new kind of art, a new kind of thought, a new kind of life. And so, we stand at the edge of something bigger than we ever imagined. A future where creativity is not just expressed, but expanded through the strange, beautiful, and terrifying dance between human and machine. Welcome to the future of creativity, where we don't just imagine the world, we co-create it. So what exactly are we talking about? It's not about replacing human creativity with machines, but about expanding it. Imagine a painter who doesn't just brush the canvas, but collaborates with a digital tool that suggests colors and textures based on emotion and context. This isn't just a tool, it's a co-creator. Think of it as an extension of the artist's mind, helping them explore new dimensions of expression without losing the essence of human touch and intention. The future of creativity is about collaboration, not competition. It's about building bridges between human intuition and machine precision, creating something that neither could achieve alone. This is the next frontier, where imagination meets intelligence, and where the best ideas are born not from one mind, but from many, working in harmony. You're not just a creator, you're a curator of meaning. Every story you tell, every idea you share, is part of a larger conversation that AI is now joining. It's not racing you, it's expanding the canvas. Imagine your most personal work, that one piece you created in your darkest hour, now being understood by an AI. It doesn't just analyze it, it becomes a part of the dialogue. That's power, not replacement. You've spent years honing your craft. Now, imagine someone else, someone with a different perspective, a different background, helping you see your work in new ways. That's not a threat. It's a gift. The future of creativity isn't a zero-sum game. It's not about who gets to be the creator, it's about who gets to be the co-creator. And that future is already here, waiting for you to step into it. We began with the brush and the chisel, with the mind and the hand, with the fire that made the first cave paintings. Creativity was the spark of human existence, raw and unfiltered. Then came the wheel, the printing press, the camera, tools that gave us more than power. They gave us perspective, allowing us to see the world and our place within it. But even as machines took over the repetitive, the human spirit found new ways to create. In art, in music, in the very idea of resistance to the mechanical. Now, with AI, we're not just replacing the human hand. We're extending it, building a bridge between our imagination and the infinite possibilities of data and code. The future of creativity isn't about choosing between human and machine. It's about redefining what it means to create in a world where both are partners. Imagine you're drawing the picture, but your pencil is a robot that helps you make the lines smoother, faster, and even smarter. It doesn't take over, it just helps you think bigger. The robot doesn't know what you want to draw, but it knows how to make it better. It's like having a super smart friend who only helps you create, never control. You're still the boss of the story, the artist, the dreamer. The AI is just your co-creator, helping you build something even bigger than you imagined. So, creativity isn't just about making things, it's about making them better. And that's what happens when you team up with a machine that wants to help, not hurt. Before anything else, you need a clear vision. What do you want to create? What problem are you trying to solve? This isn't just about tools. It's about purpose. Next, you choose the right tools. Not just any tool, but one that understands your style, your voice, and your goals. It's not about replacing you. It's about enhancing your creativity. Then comes the setup of your creative environment. It's not just about the tools. It's about the space you create for your ideas to flow. A place where you can experiment, fail, and grow. Finally, you need a mindset. One that embraces curiosity, openness, and the willingness to let an AI be a co-creator, not just a tool. This is where the magic begins. Once the AI has learned from the human, it begins to act as a creative partner, not a replacement. It takes the human's initial spark and amplifies it, generating ideas that the human might never have considered alone. This process is like a conversation, but one where the AI doesn't just repeat what it knows. It synthesizes, transforms, and sometimes even challenges the human's assumptions. It's not about control, but co-creation. The AI's role is to expand the boundaries of what's possible, offering new perspectives and tools. It doesn't replace the human's intuition, but it makes that intuition more powerful, more precise, and more expansive. This is where creativity becomes a shared journey. The human provides vision, the AI provides speed and scale, and together, they push the limits of imagination in ways neither could alone. It's not just about making art or writing stories. It's about redefining what creativity can be. It's about building a future where imagination is no longer limited by the mind, but amplified by the machine. The clever twist isn't just about automation. It's about augmentation. AI doesn't replace the human hand, but it extends it, giving creators new tools to shape reality with precision and speed. Imagine an AI that doesn't just generate ideas, but understands the emotional and cultural context behind them. It learns from human creativity, not just data to inspire new possibilities. This is the next frontier, where AI isn't a tool, but a collaborator. It doesn't just assist. It enhances, elevates, and expands the boundaries of what we can imagine and create. The clever twist is that AI isn't just about efficiency. It's about opening doors to new forms of expression, new ways of thinking, and new ways of being creative together. Beneath the surface of every AI tool, there's a silent symphony of algorithms and data, a complex web of neural networks learning, adapting, and evolving in real time. This science isn't just about code. It's about the way AI mirrors and extends the human mind, helping us see connections we might never have found alone. The science is grounded in something deeper, a fusion of intuition and logic, of art and algorithm, of human vision and machine precision. This isn't just the next step in technology. It's a new kind of evolution, where human imagination and AI intelligence become one, unlocking frontiers we've only just begun to dream of. Imagine a painter and a robot working side by side, each bringing something unique to the canvas. The painter dreams in colors, the robot calculates in precision. Together, they create something neither could have done alone. The painter might sketch a wild emotional curve, and the robot fills in the gaps with mathematical harmony. It's not about replacing one with the other, but about expanding what's possible. The robot doesn't replace the artist. It gives the artist more room to dream. It's like having a co-author who never judges, only helps you refine your vision. In the end, the best collaborations are the ones that feel both human and intelligent. They're not perfect, but they're full of potential. And that's where the future of creativity begins. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.